Welcome, bienvenue to our special meeting of December 20th. Bienvenue à notre Assemblée spéciale du conseil de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc. With me, we have Councillor Azarad, Councillor Schuster, Councillor Kajavsky. On a le conseil Benizri. We have our city manager, Jonathan Schechter, Councillor Cohn. On a notre greffier, Pascal Tanguay, et notre trésorier, André Raffolsi, and we have our Director of Communication, Darryl Levine. So before we continue, actually, I'll ask Councillor Azarad to do a resolution. The mayor is out of town, so to appoint me as temporary chair for the meeting. Go ahead, Councillor Azarad.
I hereby move that Councillor Early chair the special meeting of December 20th, 2023.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Schuster. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. And now we'll ask our Director Levine to show a video for our land acknowledgement and regarding question period.
Justice, devoir du souvenir, liberté culturelle et inclusion sont des valeurs chères à la ville de Côte Saint-Luc. Nombre de nos résidents et leurs descendants ont construit leur vie ici, après avoir fui des situations difficiles ailleurs. Le Canada a été leur refuge. Mais pour les peuples et les communautés autochtones, les politiques gouvernementales au Canada ont créé des injustices. L'île de Montréal, où nous sommes réunis aujourd'hui, porte un nom beaucoup plus ancien, Chauchagay. C'était un lieu de rassemblement historique pour de nombreuses communautés autochtones. C'était aussi un lieu de diplomatie où a notamment été signé le traité de la Grande Paix de Montréal. Nous remercions la nation Ganyugeaga, également connue sous le nom de nation Mohawk, pour son hospitalité sur un territoire non cédé. Nous devons reconnaître le passé, afin d'avancer avec un esprit de collaboration et de réconciliation. Justice, remembrance, cultural freedom, and inclusion are important values to the city of Côte Saint-Luc. Many residents and their descendants have made their lives here, having fled dire conditions elsewhere. Canada was their refuge. But for Indigenous peoples and communities, government policies in Canada created injustice. The island of Montreal, where we are meeting today, has a much older name, Chauchagay. It was a historic gathering place for many Indigenous communities. It was also the site of diplomacy, including the Great Peace of Montreal. We thank the Ganyugeaga Nation, also known as the Mohawk Nation, for their hospitality on unceded territory. We must acknowledge the past so that we can move forward in a spirit of collaboration and reconciliation.
Now we'll have the video regarding question period.
La ville de Côte Saint-Luc permet aux résidents et aux non-résidents de poser des questions en français et en anglais lors des séances du conseil. Toute personne souhaitant poser une question doit, au début de la séance du conseil, remplir le formulaire à cet effet qui se trouve à l'entrée de la salle du conseil. La période de questions d'une séance du conseil est limitée à 30 minutes, mais elle peut être prolongée sous réserve de l'approbation de la majorité des membres du conseil présent. Compte tenu de cette limite de temps et du souhait de permettre au plus grand nombre possible de personnes de poser des questions, chaque personne dispose de 3 minutes pour poser une question et une question de suivi au maire. Avant de poser une question, chaque personne doit indiquer son nom complet. Après la discussion des points à l'ordre du jour, il y a une deuxième période de questions. Au cours de cette deuxième période de questions, les participants peuvent uniquement poser des questions sur des points à l'ordre du jour. Finalement, personne ne peut utiliser un langage violent, offensant ou irrespectueux lorsqu'il adresse une question au maire. The Côte Saint-Luc City Council allows residents and non-residents to ask questions at its council meetings, in French and English. Every person wishing to ask a question in person must, at the beginning of the council meeting, fill out a question period form, which can be found at the entrance to the council chamber. The question period at a council meeting is limited to 30 minutes, but may be extended, subject to the consent of the majority of members of council present. Given this time limit, and given the desire to allow as many questioners as possible to ask questions, every person has 3 minutes to ask one question and one follow-up question to the mayor. Prior to asking a question, every person must state their full name. Following the discussion of the council agenda items, there is a second question period. During the second question period, attendees can only ask questions about items on the council agenda. Finally, no person may use violent, offensive, or disrespectful language when addressing a question to the mayor.
All right. Thank you, Director Levine. Now I see we have a question from the audience. Ms. Lavinia Vonea, please come. And you can ask, vous pouvez demander en anglais et français. You can ask in English or French. Go ahead.
English, it's fine.
Okay.
So I came because it's the, it's for the tax rate of Côte Saint-Luc. So I noticed the tax rate, it's almost $2 per $100, $2 per $100. All right. So if I'm comparing, let's say with TMR, 2023, it's 0.4912. If you go in Homestead, it's 0.75. So if you go to Montreal, it's even huge, the difference. Like, why do we have such a huge, I mean, it would be okay between 2 to 5%, but I mean, just with Homestead, it's 30%. TMR is double. NDG is double. Ville de Montréal is more than double. So why is it like, why is this inflated? Like, why do we have to pay so much, just comparing to Homestead, it's just, which is like the most expensive. Why do we have to pay so much? Where is the tax rate? I had correspondence with Mr. Marino during the summer and the new controller. And they sent me backup for all the calculation. So they said, Mr. Marino said in the beginning, oh, it's because we have this fancy library, we have the Aqua Center, we have. So I checked the financial statements, but actually they are self-sustaining because they have a lot of revenues to the library and Aqua Center. So it's not that. What is it? Like, why do we pay double, And I'm willing to go, if I don't understand, I'm gonna go very far with this issue. So how I noticed, because I've been living here for 7 years, I have another house in Montreal, which is the same evaluation. Here I pay almost 7,000 property tax, then I pay 3,500, like, better location and better services, And, it's 8 kilometers away. It's just close to downtown. So why, do you have answer for me at this session? Like, how is, oh, another thing, okay?
Do you want me to, would you like me to answer the question
No,
or do you
no,
want to
let
continue?
me-
Because I do have an answer.
No,
But
I have
but I'll let
another thing. City of Côte Saint-Luc, it's the only municipality, but the only one in Quebec that it doesn't post the tax rate on the website. You have an information flyer, which it says budgeted tax rate, but they don't even add up, it's not the actual. If you go to City of Homestead, you see 0.75. If you go TMR, I'm here in TMR now, it's 0.4912, like it's straight, transparent, and it says the TMR, it says rate town of Montreal 0.1485, rate agglomeration de Montreal 0.3427, total 0.4912, so very transparent. And so that's another question. Why don't we have, straight? It's 1.2, 1 point, So please, you can answer.
Okay, well, thank you for your question.
You're welcome.
So I'll start by saying first, so in terms of the tax rate, I'm looking at it right in front of me and it's actually on our website
Okay.
as well. Both actually, if you go to our website, and you can actually see our tax rates going back at least till 2018. So you have.
So it's not the only
you-
information flyer, okay.
Sorry, it's in the, so to be clear, it's in
Yeah.
a tax flyer that's sent to every tax paying. It's also in a budget flyer. We have all that information.
And you
Oh.
have the actual one?
Yes, I have it
Okay.
right in front of me. It's on our
All
website.
right.
I printed a copy just to have in
Perfect.
case.
And how much it is?
So the tax rate, and actually the tax rate actually went down. So it's 0.9130. So to
Oh,
be
wow.
clear, So it's less than half of what you said it was. So your
The
so your
9.2
number, the
so-
number you said is more than double.
So it's still 30% more than Homestead and
So
almost double than
the
TMR.
information, so I don't have the information for the upcoming year because not all the cities have produced their tax
Yeah.
rates. What I can tell you is,
It's here, it's on the
What-
websites, yeah.
well, I'm explaining. What I can
Yeah.
tell you is that Côte Saint-Luc is one of the highest on the island, so that is correct. We're actually the third highest on the island. So we are the third
So
highest.
which one is
Excuse,
higher?
sorry, I gave
Yeah.
you opportunity to
Or-
speak. Now it's my turn. If you have
Sure.
if you have a follow-up question, I'll give you a
Yeah.
moment when it's your turn. So again, Côte Saint-Luc is the third highest on the island of Montreal. So we're not the highest, but the third highest. Now, I believe we offer the best services on the island of Montreal. That's my opinion. That we can debate, but I don't know if we won't necessarily solve that one tonight, but I can tell you, so we're not the highest. Now, in terms of, like I said, all the tax rates are posted. In terms of the city services, to be clear, the library costs about $2 million to run. In
Mhm.
terms of revenue from the library generates revenue of a few $1,000s. So to be clear, the library isn't self-sufficient. In fact, to join the library, it's free. I think there was at some point a $1 fee,
Yeah.
if I recall, and the director of the library is not here, but I believe we erased that $1 fee. So basically, the library is an example, and this is true for most libraries. The town of Hampstead doesn't have a library. Many cities
okay.
don't have libraries. They don't have, or they have much smaller. We have better library services than the entire borough of Côte-Neige-NDG, which is about 5 times our size. We pride ourselves on offering better services. Our tax rate is higher than most cities on the island, but again, we try to do it in such a way that the services benefit the residents. Now, for the current year, we actually, so the way things work, we actually raise the taxes, but we lower the tax rate because that's based on the mill rate is based on properties, but that's another discussion. But I guess my point is, you are correct that our taxes are relatively high compared to other cities, but again, we're the third highest
Yeah.
of the demerged cities on the island of Montreal.
By the way, which
So
one is
if do
highest?
you have a,
Yeah.
do you have a follow-up question?
Which one is highest? Because you said it's the third.
So
highest.
Montreal West is actually the highest tax rate on the island of
Okay,
Montreal.
And the other one?
My understanding is actually Hampstead is the second highest. So
Well,
I will
Homestead,
double
it's
check.
on the website, it's 0.75.
I will double check, but
Yeah.
like I said, my understanding was we were the third highest, but I will double check that to make sure.
Yeah, and when I spoke to Mr. Marino, he said, oh, it's because of City of Montreal, because in Côte Saint-Luc, you have lower evaluation of the house than Homestead, let's say, or TMR. It's true, but if Ville d'Anjou has lower than than Côte Saint-Luc, it doesn't mean he has to multiply by 4 the tax rate, And I was like.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, no, and the library, we have to investigate why do they pay such huge salaries? Because what he sent me, the expenses, it's like unbelievable, the salaries in the library. And also all the salaries, what is it, public works, for example?
So I'm sorry, I'm not clear what your question is.
Well, the salaries are huge. The library administration is like, I've never seen in my life, and I work in accounting and taxation. So we have to have, reasonable salaries. Second, what is public works? Because I see public works invoices everywhere. Like, it's public works actually the government, or?
So your question is, what is Public Works?
Yeah.
So Public Works is basically one of the largest departments in the city. So
Yes.
Public Works includes snow removal.
Okay.
It includes the maintenance of all our parks. It includes maintenance of our roads. It includes all our waste removal. It includes the maintenance, well, I guess the maintenance of our pipes is partly Public Works, partly engineering. It also includes maintenance and upkeep of our streetlights. It also includes the general maintenance of our sidewalks. Although again, the more major work is engineering. So Public Works is one of the largest departments. In terms of our staff,
Yeah.
the majority of the staff in the city are unionized. So all the employees in the library, with the exception of a few members of the administration, are all unionized, as are all our blue collar workers, as are all our white collar workers and our professionals. So both in Public Works and most departments, our employees who are unionized are paid a fair wage, which I believe is comparable to most. The director of HR is actually not here this evening, but I'm sure she would say, and hopefully our employees would agree, that they're paid on par with other unionized employees across the island. So I understand your questions, but again, our goal is to make sure the city's expenses are maintained. We're all taxpayers ourselves.
My
When
gosh,
we,
you have,
sorry,
yeah,
it's my turn now.
Yeah,
It's my turn.
Okay, sure.
I'll give you one more chance in a moment if you have a final thought.
yeah.
But again, the point is we do our best to make sure the tax rates are set. This year, we spent a lot of time trying to manage the increase to make it a reasonable one, while not affecting services as much, affecting services to the least extent possible. But I can tell you, our employees are paid comparable to other employees across the island of Montreal, across the province, our unionized, and I would say also our administration. We actually do comparison studies for our administrators
Yeah,
based on provincial norms which looks at the UMQ, Union des Municipalités du Québec. So we make sure our employees are paid comparable wages. So I can assure you our employees are not paid any more, or any less than an average employee in another city as well.
but you do have
So-
much more employees than any other city.
We have, I believe, approximately, I don't know, 186, about 200 employees.
Unbelievable, for such a small city.
We are a city of about 34,000,
Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
35,000. So you,
So why do we have
so
so many employees?
I-
Like
I-
for
so
doing
this-
what?
I-
You know?
I guess, because we only have one questioner, I'll give you, do you have one last question, Ms. Voina?
So Public Works, it's the same because Public Works, it's federal government too. Is it the same body? Like, or is it?
So-
No,
So is that your final question?
no, my final question is just to explain to me, why do we have such a huge amount of tax rate, you know?
Okay, so again, so
my
that's-
You can forget about the Public Works, that I'm gonna do my.
So
research
public,
myself.
so, well, I'll try to again answer those two questions. So again, in terms of public works, so Côte Saint-Luc has their own public works department. Truthfully, there's provincial public works, there's also federal public works, but
Mhm.
those are different departments.
Okay,
Our public works, again, deals with the roads,
yeah,
deals with waste removal, deals a bit with the water, deals with snow removal, deals with
Alright.
sidewalks, deals with lights and maintenance, deals with maintenance of the parks, deals, I guess, with maintenance of our fleet. Am I forgetting anything? I think that's checked. I think I've covered most of the key points. Now, and again, in terms of our tax rate, like I said, oh, thank you, trees
Yeah,
also, and
alright, yeah.
planting flowers and trees and grass and
so this is
maintaining.
just unionized, like it's some places, not
So-
like small companies, right? Like small contracts, like subcontracts or like.
So again, that's public works. Now, in
Yeah.
terms of our tax rate, like I said, our goal is to make the tax rate as reasonable as possible, but we offer, so I would say I'm a little different than some of the other counselors, I may say. I wasn't born in Côte Saint-Luc myself.
That's nice.
Many of the counselors here were. I chose to live in Côte Saint-Luc. I
So you
chose,
find, the
sorry,
services better,
it's my turn now.
Yeah.
You had three questions already, or
Okay,
more than
yeah.
three. I'm going to finish and then we have to move on with the meeting. But my point is I chose to live in Côte Saint-Luc because the services, I believe, are better than any other spot, not just on the island of Montreal, but in the province of Quebec. Now, I chose it knowing that the tax rate was higher than the average on the island, that it is one of the highest. And I chose it because, again, I wanted to live in a place that has beautiful parks, that has a pool, that has the aquatic center, which didn't have at that time until we
Yeah.
built it, but that had amazing services. And I would say that's, a choice people make in terms of snow removal. I can tell you the snow removal, I work in Montreal, but I have my day job where I work in Montreal and I live in Côte Saint-Luc. And I can tell you as soon as I cross that
Yeah,
border into Montreal, the snow removal is often atrocious. My wife works in Saint Laurent, and I could tell you when she crosses from Saint Laurent or crosses, coming back to Côte Saint-Luc, you could see the difference. And that is what residents are paying for, is improved services. Now, again, our goal is to try to maintain the tax rate as low as possible. But I can't share more than that, but I would say definitely if you want, you
Yeah.
can look at the budget presentation, and I appreciate you coming. I thank you very much.
So now you think that since we have much less now and it's gonna be even less in the future, we're
I
gonna
think
have
we're done now. We can speak for an hour, but I would think, here's what I
Yeah.
would say. If you want, you could stay at the meeting. It'll be a relatively short meeting. And if you want, we can have a
Sure, yeah.
conversation one-on-one after the meeting. But I want to move on with the agenda just to make sure we continue. But thank you for your questions. All right, we'll continue with item number 2 on the agenda, and I'll ask Councillor Azrad. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Erdely. Be it resolved that bylaw 2620, entitled bylaw 2620 concerning taxes of the city of Côte Saint-Luc for the fiscal year 2024 be and is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Azra. Do I have a seconder? Seconder by Councillor Benizri. Go ahead. You want to explain briefly?
Just a little background. So these are the bylaws for the tax rates that were explained in the budget meeting on Monday evening. And it breaks down the different rates for different types of properties, single family homes, commercial, and so on. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Councillor Azrad. We have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Okay, anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 3, Councillor Kajavsky.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. What page, please, on the digital?
It's page 18 of the digital version.
Perfect. Just a notice of motion, correct?
And
And a tabling, yeah. All right, I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2621 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $3,559,000, including professional fees for the resurfacing of roads and sidewalk repairs at various locations belonging to the city of Côte Saint-Luc will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. I mentioned as well the object and scope of the bylaw 2621 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $3,559,000, including professional fees for the resurfacing of roads and sidewalk repairs at various locations belonging to the city of Côte Saint-Luc. I will also table draft bylaw 2621 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $3,559,000, including professional fees for the resurfacing of roads and sidewalk repairs at various locations belonging to the city of Côte Saint-Luc.
thank you, Councillor Kajavsky. I don't think we need to vote on this one, correct? All right, but Councillor Kajavsky, do you want to mention briefly which roads and a bit
Yeah.
about the sidewalks?
Yeah, so this is the money we'll be spending out of the capital budget for the resurfacing of roads in 2024. That includes Smart Avenue on the Côte Saint-Luc Road side between Arcadian and the CP tracks, so in front of Schwartz Park in Councillor Erdely's district. Arcadian as well off of Smart Avenue. West Luke in my district between Wavell and Guelph. So between the tracks on the south side of West Luke, and Wentworth between Kildare and Mackle. So it would be the two-way section of Wentworth, just north of the 161 bus route that I actually drove on today. It was a little bit of a rough ride. That includes as well sidewalk replacement on all of the streets that I had previously mentioned.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Kajavsky. We'll move to item 4, Councillor Cohn.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. I wish to give notice of motion that bylaw 2622 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $114,000 to partially finance the cost of professional fees for the rehabilitation of the underpass located on Côte Saint-Luc Road will be presented at a later meeting. Mention the object and the scope of the bylaw to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $114,000 to partially finance the cost of professional fees for the rehabilitation of the underpass located on Côte Saint-Luc Road. And should I move to the tabling? Okay, so I move that we table draft bylaw 2622 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $114,000 to partially finance the cost of professional fees for the rehabilitation of the underpass located on Côte Saint-Luc Road.
Thank you, Councillor Cohn. And again, we don't have to vote on.
Councillor Erdely, I just had a clarification. Maybe the treasurer can help us. The sidewalks are not being repaired. They're going to be reconstructed. So possibly the French version is accurate, but possibly in the English version in the title, if the sidewalks are not going to be repaired but reconstructed, we could replace the word repairs with reconstruction. The French version is fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt Schechter. All right.
Sorry, I jumped back one.
No, it's all good. But again, so just a tabling, so no vote for this
Correct,
one.
exactly.
So we'll move to item 5, Councillor Schuster.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. I hereby give notice of motion for bylaw 2623 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $1,187,000, including professional fees for roof reconstruction and building envelope restoration at the Aquatic and Community Center building situated at 5794 Park Haven. I also table the draft bylaw 2623 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $1,187,000, including professional fees for roof reconstruction and building envelope restoration at the Aquatic and Community Center building situated at 5794 Park Haven.
Thank you, Councillor Schuster. Do you want to maybe explain this briefly?
Just briefly, that the scope of work includes some restoration to the roof due to a bit of a mold issue, and there's a pending lawsuit. But in the interim, the work needed to be done, so we're pursuing the renovations, and it's our goal to recoup partial costs pursuant to the lawsuit.
Thank you, Councillor Schuster. I'll ask you to move the next item as well, item 6.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. I hereby give notice of motion for bylaw 2624 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $117,000, including professional fees for the purchase and replacement of a backstop at baseball field T3 cage at Trudeau Park, situated at 6975 Mackle Road in the city of Côte Saint-Luc. I also table the draft bylaw 2624 to be entitled bylaw authorizing a loan of $117,000, including professional fees for the purchase and replacement of a backstop at the baseball field T3 cage at Trudeau Park, situated at 6975 Mackle Road in the city of Côte Saint-Luc.
Thank you, Councillor Schuster. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory. It's just also for safety purposes and for general play for baseball.
Perfect. Thank you. Maintenant, conseiller Bénisserie, s'il vous plaît, avec le prochain deux.
Merci, conseillère Delis. Je donne avis de motion que le règlement 2625 à être intitulé « Règlement autorisant un emprunt de 188 000 $ pour l'achat de véhicules et d'équipements » sera présenté à une réunion subséquente pour adoption. Je mentionne l'objet du règlement 2625 à être intitulé « Règlement autorisant un emprunt de 188 000 $ pour l'achat de véhicules et d'équipements ».
Merci, conseiller Bénisserie. Est-ce que vous pouvez juste peut-être dire quels sont les véhicules pour cette...
Absolument. Alors, les véhicules ici qu'on va remplacer, c'est un camion Ben à 6 roues qui va remplacer un véhicule de 2011 et aussi va remplacer un véhicule de la sécurité publique, remplaçant des véhicules de 2015 à la sécurité publique.
Merci. Et la prochaine aussi?
Oui. Alors, je dépose le projet de règlement 2625 à être intitulé « Règlement autorisant un emprunt de 188 000 $ pour l'achat de véhicules et d'équipements ». Et je vais passer au prochain.
Oui. Et le prochain pour les véhicules?
Oui, absolument. Je vais juste remettre la page.
C'est page
56. Voilà, on est là. Alors, je donne avis de motion que le règlement 2626 à être intitulé « Règlement autorisant un emprunt de 839 000 $ pour l'achat de véhicules lourds et d'équipements pour véhicules lourds » sera présenté à une réunion subséquente pour adoption. Je mentionne l'objet du règlement 2626 à être intitulé « Règlement autorisant un emprunt de 839 000 $ pour l'achat de véhicules lourds et d'équipements pour véhicules lourds ».
Si, est-ce que vous pouvez juste... donner des informations sur les véhicules?
Oui, absolument. Alors, on parle d'un véhicule de 10 roues avec dumper. C'est pour remplacer un véhicule de 2004. Et nous avons ici aussi une chargeuse avec souffleuse à neige remplaçant un véhicule de 2005. Alors, vraiment, c'est pour le remplacement de véhicules pour être capable de retirer la neige cet hiver. Voilà.
Merci beaucoup.
Il faut déposer le projet.
Le dépôt de projet aussi.
Je dépose le projet de règlement 2626 à être intitulé « Règlement autorisant un emprunt de 839 000 $ pour l'achat de véhicules lourds et d'équipements pour véhicules lourds ».
Merci, conseiller Bénisserie. And now we'll continue with item 9. And Councillor Gajewski found a typo on the agenda. So for the agenda, it should be adoption of bylaw 2398-7. entitled and so on. So I'll let Councillor Kajowski read the resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby adopts bylaw 2398-7 to be entitled bylaw 2398-7, amending bylaw 2398 to regulate parking and public safety.
Thank you, Councillor Kajowski. We have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Azara, do you want to explain briefly what the change is for the bylaw?
Yeah, so I won't get into the details too much. Just generally speaking, I think our fines were a little bit dated. So now these are updated to be in line with our neighboring municipalities and other cities on the island of Montreal and surrounding. Essentially raising our fines from $40 to $60 for many different categories of infraction, and from $40 to $100 for, let's say, more egregious infractions, such as parking in an emergency lane or emergency vehicles, parking too close to a fire hydrant, leaving an animal in a vehicle without ventilation. So that fine was $40, goes to $100. Those previous ones that I mentioned were 40 and now 100. And many go from $40 to $60 parking in an illegal spot too close to a curb or a corner of a road, and various other categories. There's about 30 or 40 or maybe even more that have been increased.
Thank you, Councillor Kajowski. I'll just add that our fines were one of the lowest on the island. So now we're more in line with the average for other cities. So we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. And we'll move to now, I'll ask someone to move to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Schuster. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. So the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Merci.